I've been up here long enough, and I'm going to introduce Reverend Joanne to come and speak with us about finding the sacred in everything.
Thank you, Lena. You know, I'm going to say this out loud. You don't know. You know, my granddaughter, Charlotte, she always starts every statement with, you know what? And so it's so joyful because it's always something that's fabulous to her. You know what? Oh, I just see, speaking of that, I just got a text. Call me when you're not busy. She wants to FaceTime you. Oh, David, can you bring up my talk? So, I was thinking how mundane paper is. But I left my iPad at my sister's. So I get to practice the mundane thing of printing. And I'd like to start this morning a little different. I often tell you that I do an affirmation for my own consciousness before I start writing my message for the day. So I'd like you to all be with me in this moment as I declare and know. Within me there is a knowledge, wisdom, and power to express my ideas gently, powerfully, and clearly. The idea that I express this week comes from a place of peace and love. I know that as I open my consciousness and allow only good to shine so brightly in my life, that everything else fades into the distance. With those thoughts in mind, let us now take this higher consciousness into our own hearts and hold in our hearts all those who need to know that they are loved, that they are whole in whatever state they are, and that they are loved right now. If we see their wholeness, it is there. Today I see the wholeness and the sacred in my family and friends. And I invite you into this moment of silence as we acknowledge Remembrance Day and all those who have gone before us. Thank you for remembering. And now it's a right and perfect time for an opening affirmative prayer spiritual mind treatment. There is only one life, one love, one heart, the creator of all. I call this creator God, Great Spirit, Divine Light, Buddha. The name is simply an acknowledgement of a power to create a beautiful world. My life is a sacred expression of the Creator, of God, of Spirit. And I express in ways that uplift, encourage, and shine a light on all that is sacred and holy in my life. I am so grateful for each person here, in person or watching online, for I know that they are also here to shine a light on the holy, good, sacred. As each of us move into a state of being present, the example, not the exception, we can open ourselves to seeing the example in others, in everyone around us. With loving thanks for this teaching, for this spiritual mind treatment, for this science of mind teaching that reminds me that everything happens in the mind first before it is manifest. To change the world, I need to change my mind. To see the sacred in everything, With loving thanks, I let this go. I know I have turned on the light and my inner being as well. I let this go, and together we say, and so it is. My talk's about the mundane, and what is not mundane is that this month we remember. And not just on November 11th. Let's make this whole month the month that we remember those who passed in wars, those who've crossed over of their own volition, and those who have left our lives but are physically still here, but they've moved on to a different area, different town. Let's just make that our mission. Let us remember. Okay, good morning. Can you believe it's November? It was the greatest day this morning. I slept in a little bit, and I got up about 7, and I wanted to write my talk a little bit more and kind of go through it, and then I thought, oh my gosh, it's 20 after 8. I got to get a wiggle on. I picked up my phone. It was 20 after 7. Oh, what a glorious day. So I thought, what a mundane thing a clock is. It just, we gauge ourselves by it, but it's not something we certainly need. And I was thinking November, it was so cold, and we got a snow last week, and what a great example of sacredness of winter. And I'm pretty sure some of you are saying, what? I like summer. I like green. I like to go outside. I like it when it's warm. And that would be me. But what about those other people who love skiing and snowboarding and skidooing, or just the quiet stillness of the white snow? The clear palette. Everything is sacred and beautiful. Beauty truly is in the eye of the beholder. And that mundane and beauty in the eye of the beholder is totally our philosophy. And it's the subject for this month. The mundane, the sacred, the profane, and oh my. So the mundane are everyday duties. Washing the dishes, brushing your teeth, cleaning your house. You know, the things you do unconsciously. And then you move into the sacred. Once you do those things, oh, I love to sit and enjoy my house. It's so clean. That's the sacred. When you move into that sacred where you can take the time to meditate, write a letter, burn some incense, light a candle. Oh, that's sacred. Then we move into the profane, and my sister says, why would you use that word? Because she's thinking of the verb profanity. I said, profane is a noun that really talks about how we judge things that, that's not very spiritual. Where's the sacred in that? And it means that you can't see the sacredness in that. It could mean just something like getting cut off at a green light. You might think that's profane, but maybe the sacredness is it stopped you from getting in an accident. Or somebody else. I mean, you don't know. Or watching the news. That's profane. And, there's a lot that we deem not spiritual in our world. And the oh my means when you look at the whole of society, all the mundane, the sacred, the profane, it's all one. It's all God. And that can be a challenge sometimes to wrap your head around. We want to change the world. And sometimes we can't. But we can't even turn a blind eye to it either. So what I'm suggesting is perhaps we just stay in a state of being an example to the world, not an exception. Reminding ourselves that the world is changed by our example, not by our opinion. More than any other time in my life, I have been exposed to other people's opinions. So today I'm just going to embrace the mundane and look for the sacred and ask myself, am I being a good example of the sacred? The affirmation that they give us is, I look and find the sacred in everything. Let's say that together. I look and find the sacred in everything. So my talk's in 2 parts. I got 2 weeks. I get the mundane and the sacred. So this week we're going to talk about the mundane and how you have to look for the sacred in the mundane. Look for the sacred in everything. And then part 2 next week, it's about embracing the sacred. And we're going to meditate, contemplate, and elevate our consciousness. So I hope you can join us. Because the title this week is The Ordinary. Whew. That's not something that we're really comfortable with, something ordinary. I mean, we all want to live in a state of constant excitement, doing things that are meaningful, changing the world. But we find there's all these mundane things we got to do. Like we got to do the dishes, buy groceries, put gas in the car, take out the garbage. Life could be so much more if I didn't have to do all those mundane things. If I was just free to change the world. But what if the mundane was just as sacred, just as important, and just as valuable as anything else you've ever done? If oneness is in everything, it's in the good and the bad and the exciting and the dull and the mundane, then shouldn't we love it all equally without judgment? We have to remember, we say it a lot, we're spiritual beings having a spiritual experience in a human body. That's the mundane form. And it's a sacred body. I can just see it now when I'm cleaning my house looking for the sacred. Look at that dust. Is there sacredness in there? Yeah, there is. Or look at all the stuff that I got to put away. Is that sacred? Yes, it is. And today, I have to park outside. So I was scraping my car and I was thinking, this is mundane. But when I looked really closely at the window and all the frost that was on the window, it was the most sacred spiritual experience. So it's not what you do, it's how you do it. It's all sacred. There's a story that they gave us, and it was about a Buddhist temple. And a man goes to the Buddhist temple, and there's a Buddhist there meditating, and he says to the Buddhist, "What did you do before you were enlightened?" "Oh," he said, "I mostly just chopped wood and carried water." And he thought about that, and then he says to him, "So what do you do now that you're enlightened?" He says, "I mostly just chop wood and carry water." The tasks didn't change. Just the energy did. And I thought about that a lot, that the task didn't change, just the energy did. Chop wood and carry water. So I'm in the kitchen doing the mundane thing, cutting up cheese and putting it out, and Edith comes in. "Joanne, you wouldn't believe this book I got." I'm going to invite Edith up right now. Edith, come on up here. And show them this book that you brought me. Chop wood and carry water. I know. I'm going to read you a little bit out of Chop Wood and Carry Water.
Okay, so this book is by Joshua Metcalf, and I highly recommend it. My daughter was telling me, she was telling me a story from here, and I was so impressed, and then she ended up giving me the book for my birthday. And so when I noticed that there was something in the write-up about today's talk, and it was something about exactly this, chop wood, carry water, I thought, oh my goodness. Last night I started reading more of it, and I got about halfway through, and I kept marking all these different pages that I thought were so great for us here. Anyway, and I came and shared that with Joanne. She said, you have to read part of this. So it's a book about this this man named John who's training to become a Samari warrior, and it's about all the lessons he learns along the way, guided by his sensei, Akira. So I'll just read you one page from it. John, one of the most powerful forces you will face during your time here is discouragement. It can come in many different forms. Sometimes it's in the voice inside your head that says you aren't good enough. while other times it might come from giving your best and still not succeeding. Still other times it will creep in ways you might not even be aware of. But make sure you always keep your guard up and fuel your heart with encouragement. John nodded, asking, "How do I fuel my heart?" Akira smiled. "Good question. You fuel your heart with 6 things: what you watch, what you read, what you listen to, what you who you surround yourself with, how you talk to yourself, and what you visualize." Let me ask you a question. If you owned a Lamborghini, would you ever put water into the gas tank? John looked up in confusion. "Of course not. That would ruin the engine." "Exactly," Akira said. "But this is what most people do with their hearts. You and I were created just like that Lamborghini. But if we put the wrong fuel into the gas tank of our hearts, we won't run as we were intended to. We get frustrated and discouraged because we know deep down that we were created for so much more. You were created perfectly and meticulously for a purpose, John. But if you put the wrong fuel into your gas tank, it is very easy to get discouraged and break down as you go through the journey of life."
Thank you, Edith. I think she deserves a hand for that.
Thanks to my daughter for giving me.
Yeah. Thank you. There are no accidents. Trust is meditation. Oh, we are one, eh? And now I'd like to lean on Scripture a little bit. We don't often talk about Bible verses, but we do follow the teachings of Jesus, and we do take the Scripture and make it relevant in our lives today. So this one I want to read you is Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 and 27. It says, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let him have dominion over the fish in the sea, over the birds in heaven, over the livestock, over the earth, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created man in his image. You know, there's a phrase for that. It's called Imago Dei. I-M-A-G-O Dei. And it means made in the image and likeness. And I think we're not doing a very good job of having dominion over the land and the sea and the fish, but we're working on it. But what we can do is know that we are made in the image and likeness. So what does that mean? Really, it's a practical application for how we can view the world and live our lives. Being made in the image of God, it's a theoretical concept, but it provides a basis for how we can understand people and approach life. We can view human nature and treat our other humans and the environment as if it's all in the image and likeness of God. The value we place on human life, on culture, are all grounded in that thought. Everything's made in the image and likeness. And personally, you have the ability to use that when you face challenges. I'm made in the image and likeness. And when I relate that back to the mundane, it changes to everything is beautiful. But it's not just about me, it's about all of us embracing the mundane as a blessing, as a reflection of spirit on earth. As Ray Stevens reminded us 53 years ago, and it's still so relevant today. I'm going to play this song, and I would ask you to just feel free to get up and move around while this song's playing and just greet each other with a handshake or a hug. And you can say an encouraging word, or you don't have to say anything at all. You can just listen. I got to find a different mic. This is a commercial break. Then I got to turn mine off so it doesn't squeak.
Everything is beautiful in its own way, like a starry summer night or a snow-covered winter's day. And everybody's beautiful in their own way. Under God's heaven, the world's gonna find a way. There is none so blind as he who will not see. We must not close our minds. We must let our thoughts be free. Every hour that passes by, you know the world gets a little bit older. It's time to realize that beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. Everything is beautiful in its own way, like a starry summer night or a snow-covered winter's day. Ah, sing it, children. Everybody's beautiful in their own way. Under God's heaven, the world's gonna find a way. We shouldn't care about the length of his hair or the color of his skin. Don't worry about what shows from without, but the love that lives within. We're gonna get it all together now. Everything gonna work out fine. Just take a little time to look on the good side, my friend, and straighten it out in your mind. And everything is beautiful in its own way, like a starry summer night or a snow-covered winter's day. Ah, sing it, children. Everybody's beautiful in their own way. Under God's heaven, the world's gonna find a way. One more time. Everything is beautiful. Everything is beautiful in its own way, like a starry.
Wasn't that divine? I can never get enough hugs. Yeah. Ernest Holmes says, all life is bound together by one common law of love, and love is the giving of itself to spirit. And so how can we discover what good, sacred stuff God put inside of us? Well, how about spiritual mind treatment? Step 1 and 2, God is and I am. That's it right there. We've been doing it all along. All the things God is peace, power, joy, light, creator. In class, we talk about all the things God is, and we never run out. And if we're made in the image and likeness, so are we. That's it, step 1 and 2. God is and I am. And then step 3 is we claim our good as if it's already so. We do it in the present and in the positive. But I want to change that a little bit. I'm going to talk about the 7 steps. We don't talk much about the 7 steps of treatment. And it came up in a class, and I know it's not Lena was like, why do we do that? Say the negative. But I have to tell you, the 7 steps of treatment sometimes are necessary to move something from the mundane to the sacred. For example, I was thinking of something that I don't like doing at all, which is vacuuming. It used to be ironing, but now we have permanent press, so I had to move on to something else. So it's vacuuming. So a treatment for me would be God is love and light and strength and power, and so am I. I'm power and strength. And I can go on to say, and you know what? I don't like vacuuming. Vacuuming is something I don't like to do. And then I can turn that around, but I say, I now release that thought. That's the next part of the 7 steps. And then I move into the positive. And I embrace the gift of being able to plug in a vacuum and clean my environment. And then, of course, we express gratitude for the vacuum, for the power, for the ability to stand up and vacuum, and we let it go. And maybe we could do that even as a mudra. I talk about releasing things, so I think I could do. I release my belief that vacuuming is mundane. I embrace the sacred of vacuuming. I see sacred in the mundane and the spiritual. So now, do we have enough time? We do. I want to ask you guys, I'm going to pass around the mic, or I'm going to invite you up here. Tell me one thing that you find mundane, and we're going to do treatment for you. Susan, come up here. What's one thing you do that you don't like doing, you think is mundane?
Tidying up and picking up everything.
Oh, tidying up.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, everybody. Left hand out. I release my belief in clutter.
Clutter.
My belief. I embrace my abundance. Yeah. I see the mundane and the sacred and in everything. Thank you. Oh, isn't that true? Clutter is just another form of abundance. Yeah. Okay. Reverend Trask, give me a word. I won't make you get up. What's something you don't like doing? Oh, okay. See, that's not everybody's. Okay. Yeah. I release my belief in what? In sleeping. That sleeping is a necessity. I release my belief that sleeping's a necessity. I embrace the gift of rest. I see the sacred and the spiritual and the mundane in everything. Okay, we've got to say it again. I release my belief that, what did we release? In sleep. I embrace the ability to rest. I embrace the mundane and the sacred in everything. Does anybody else have something they want us to treat for? Doing dishes. Oh, okay. I release my belief that doing dishes is mundane. And I embrace cleanliness, food, abundance. Oh, I embrace the mundane and the sacred in everything. I talk about meditation and how it's not just sitting quiet. Doing dishes is a meditation. Cleaning the house is a meditation. I'm preaching to the choir here, and I'm going to do it. Does anybody have something else they want us to treat for? Cooking. Okay. I release my belief that I can't cook. I embrace what we're going to embrace. The spice of life. I embrace the spice of life. So what was it? I embrace the mundane and the sacred. Okay, I'm going to do it again. I release the belief I can't cook. I embrace the spice of life. And I for the mundane and the sacred. Somebody over there said something. Procrastination. Oh, that's a good one. I release my belief in time, in procrastination. I embrace that time is my friend. I embrace the mundane and the sacred. Wow. So we're getting away from vacuuming, ironing, cooking, dishes, cleaning, clutter. Yeah. Shoveling snow. Because there is a sacred component to it. In Science of Mind, they call that the mental equivalent. So you release what your belief is and you embrace the mental equivalent. That's the opposite of that. So the next time you have a mundane chore, just ask yourself, am I being present in this moment? And if you're not, that's okay. Don't criticize yourself. Just take a breath and come into the moment. Just bring your focus back and bless what you're about to do. I feel so blessed to be able to do the sacred job of vacuuming. I am so blessed to be able to do this sacred meal. And then I got to do the dishes, so I'm blessing that too. And so practice doing that with everything you have to do it today. Just do it for one day. Bless everything as you do it. And dedicate it to the loving spirit that created you. I dedicate this to my guide, to my spirit, to my God. And to myself, because I'm one with God. I dedicate to myself how blessed I am to vacuum. Oh, I'm going to go home and vacuum now. I want to thank each of you for being an example, for standing up and embracing the song, for telling me things that you don't like to do so that we could do a treatment for it, for embracing a new thought that nothing is mundane. Everything is sacred. Everything is beautiful. Thank you for being an example and not the exception. I feel your loving presence, all of you here and those who are watching online, whenever and wherever you're watching. You are sacred. I can feel everybody here where I am. I am Reverend Joanne Faith. Peace and love, Boruck. Everything is beautiful. And so it is. You're up, David.